Hello, welcome to another episode of Brenda's Musings. So today I want to talk about memory and how it sometimes fails us. So about 50 years ago, I took piano lessons. I took them for 5 or 6 years, and I went up to grade 8 in piano. And then I went away to university. A few years later, I went away to university. And I didn't have access to a piano. But every time I'd go home, I'd sit down at the piano, I'd play a few songs. And, I did that several times while I was home. And then I go back to university. Then I go back home, so on and so forth. And then I moved away from home, and we didn't have a piano. And so, but I would still go home once or twice a year, and I would sit down and play the piano. But the number of songs I could play was starting to shrink each year. And then COVID hit, and I didn't get home for a couple of years. I didn't have access to a piano. And when I went and sat down at my brother's piano one day, I realized that I could no longer play. My fingers had forgotten the patterns that had been instilled in them, that I didn't even have to think about. I could just sit down at the piano, close my eyes, take a breath, and my fingers would just know what to do. But now they didn't. So that got me thinking about patterns. And, so now I'm at the point in my career where I'm writing music. And sometimes I think, is this something that just naturally seemed to come out of me? Or is this something that is a melody that I've heard before? I mean, let's face it, there's only like 12 different sort of keys that we can play, right? Like we've got... That's it. So, surely to goodness, in all the hundreds of years from predecessors of pianos to synthesizers, all of these keys have been used in multiple ways and multiple times, at time periods where they've been put together. So how is it that I can make it unique and make it my own? And of course, it depends what chords you put with it, blah, blah, blah. But it got me into thinking about the patterning and how we can disrupt the pattern or how we can use the pattern to help us remember things. So, for example, if you have your keys and you come in from the car and you put your keys in the same spot every day, that's a habit. It's a pattern that you repeat over and over and over again to the point where you almost don't even have to think about it. Now, always be present. So, consciously put your keys in the spot. Excuse me. But, the more we do things the same, the more we just sort of naturally find a rhythm. The more we remember things. When you were studying for exams, often there were little tricks you could teach yourself, right? The whole mnemonic way of remembering things. The first letter of each word, was in a certain order, and so you could remember, especially in things like in history, where there's dates or people or generals or whatever, you could remember them. When kids do math now, it's all about grouping things, right? So you, instead of, just remembering that 2 + 2 = 4, they'd take, like 2 sticks and 2 sticks, and that would make 4 sticks because you can count them out, there'd be 4 sticks, but they have them in 2 different piles. So there's all kinds of different ways at all sorts of different ages that we can remember how to do things. And we do it through pattern. We do it through repetition. We do it through, just sort of becoming really comfortable with the process. And so I challenge you to think about where in your life can you make things easier for yourself to the point where you don't have to really think about it, but you sort of maybe gamify it, or you create a pattern, a repetition that you can do over and over again that will make your life easier as you go through. And that's my musing for the day. Have a great one, everyone.